Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Since Day One. Before we get into this video today about R. Kelly as well as his ex-girlfriend Sparkle and his other ex-girlfriend Kitty Jones, and last but not least we have R. Kelly's ex-wife Andrea Kelly as well as R. Kelly's goddaughter and Sparkle's niece aka Jane. And before we get into this video today, you guys go ahead and like the video, comment down below, and if you are new, smash that subscribe button to take flight with us.
Fake love, I don't need it, you can keep it, that's a fact. I had to make up my mind. I took that weight on my shoulder. I done been down.
Well, here we are back with another R. Kelly update, you guys, and I was really just sitting up here wondering about everything that happened last week with the trial in Chicago and all of the questions that we've had together as a community since Surviving R. Kelly aired in 2019. Earlier today, I went back and I looked at some of my old videos from 2019, you guys, when I was heavily invested into this Surviving R. Kelly story. Back in 2002, when the infamous videotape was floating around, as well as when R. Kelly had got indicted on those charges the first time around, it seemed like everyone knew what was going on. However, not many people said anything. It seemed like a lot of people who were on the south side of Chicago knew R. Kelly's business. They heard word in the streets. They knew who the girl on the tape was, but still nobody spoke up. And even in 2008, when he finally got acquitted of the charges, because word on the street was he had paid the girl and her parents to leave the U.S. so that law enforcement wouldn't have nobody to question, we still were not able to get the answers to our questions that we had back then, as well as the questions that we had during Surviving R. Kelly, because the witness never came forward. And now that we have our star witness, R. Kelly's goddaughter, finally telling it all at the age of 37, 23 whole years later. Not that I'm complaining, but it's like the more my questions get answered, the more questions I have. It seems like the old folk is lying on the young folk, and the young folk never really got their voice heard. So now that the young folk is talking, it seems like the old folk stories don't add up. It just really makes me question R. Kelly, because he the main one who ain't made a peep, ain't said nothing, ain't tried to defend his name. He ain't said nothing to us, y'all, except for these girls is lying on him. And I'm just having a hard time believing that, y'all, because R. Kelly created his whole entire career based off of baby making music that he created. Songs that our mamas and daddies literally played to create us. Provocative songs for the bedroom. Inspirational songs for the clubs and the concerts in the churches. But then in certain situations, when you just look at him, it's just like you just know. The things he be doing on stage, y'all, just screams that he living a double life. Just take it for example, this picture right here. This is an old man thrusting his hips towards the crowd and allowing a fan to wipe his pants down. And I guess ain't nothing changed, because this is a photo of him as a young man doing the same thing. I mean, just look at him all over Lady Gaga, all on stage. He looked like a predator, y'all. He looked like that's what he used to. He's been using his musical career and his success and the pull he has from being R. Kelly to continue doing these horrible things to these people. And I just feel like he's never gonna change. That's just my opinion. And you can't lie to me, y'all, and tell me that the number one thing that you ain't thinking right now is, how did this all start? When did this all start? When did R. Kelly start showing signs of this type of behavior, y'all? Because I know that it didn't just start with Aaliyah. Because the prosecution in the Chicago case is kind of painting this whole scenario as if he's been doing this since he became famous in 1989. So I'm taking it way back to 1989, which also happens to be the year that R. Kelly met Sparkle. I mean, it ain't like it's our business to know, or she's obligated to tell us something like that, y'all, but I guess she forgot that she spoke about that situation before Surviving R. Kelly came out. I mean, please don't get me wrong, it ain't nothing wrong with it, but it's just the simple fact that R. Kelly is being painted in this type of light, and it just makes you think, and it makes you question yourself on if R. Kelly was doing this before he was doing it with his goddaughter, and who was he doing it with? And all I'm asking is, was it with Sparkle? Or has R. Kelly always liked younger girls, underage girls? And maybe he's been doing it since before he got famous. But one thing for sure, and two things for certain, something is fishy, something ain't adding up, and I got question Sparkle. And y'all make sure to stay tuned on this video because we finna make it make sense together. Sparkle, who used to be a former R. Kelly protege and employee, was introduced to R. Kelly by a mutual friend in 1989 while she was a budding gospel singer working at Allstate Insurance. She says she met R. Kelly while he was in the studio with artist Billy Ocean. So if Sparkle was born May 13th, 1975, and she met R. Kelly through a mutual friend in 1989, for the ones who bad at math like me, I had to pull out a calculator, but 1989 take away 1975 would have made Sparkle 14 years old, which almost disappoints me even more because I feel like Sparkle is out here creating generational curses. I mean, did you ever think to mention that you have been messing with R. Kelly since you was 14? Because from my calculations, Sparkle, R. Kelly's birthday is January 8th, 1967. So in 1989, that would have made that man 22 years old. What type of mutual friend did y'all have? Who did you have that was introducing you to this grown man? Y'all gotta go ahead and give me my props, y'all, because I feel like I broke that down fabulously. But let's go ahead and move along, y'all. So also in 1989 is the time that R. Kelly came out with his group MGM that he created. MGM stands for Mentally Gifted Men. He goes on to say, after taking the Southside club scene by storm with their version of hip-hop / street funk, the Chicago group recently pocketed $100,000 as Artist of the Year on Natalie Cole's Big Break. And this was 1 year, you guys, after R. Kelly formed the group MGM. Now, don't get me to lying, y'all, on what happened with R. Kelly and Mentally Gifted Men and why their group broke up. However, I'm just gonna say that R. Kelly took his part of the $100,000 and he moved on, eventually forming the group Public Announcement, another American R&B group which was created by R. Kelly in 1991 after the R&B artist fired his former group MGM. They teamed up with R. Kelly for their collaboration album Born Into the 90s that came out in 1992. Which is weird because Sparkle comes into play again because Sparkle also married and subsequently divorced one of R. Kelly's group members, Earl Robinson, who performed with him in the early 90s as a part of the R. Kelly and Public Announcement group. I wasn't able to find anything on the internet, you guys, that showed me when Earl Robinson and Sparkle met or got married. But I was happy I was able to point out that Sparkle has been knowing R. Kelly since she was 14 in the year 1989. Because from what I was able to find out, Sparkle and R. Kelly began working together in 1992. It really was been eating me up, and Sparkle really been out here lying to us, y'all, like peeing in our face, telling us it's rain. Been out here advocating for her niece, but not advocating for herself. Sparkle just made a video the day before yesterday saying,
another lie. Robert and I were never in a romantic relationship.
And that is so crazy to me, y'all, because she acting like word ain't already dropped from her ex-husband, Earl Robinson, when he has said he was married to Sparkle and she cheated on him with R. Kelly in the new Public Announcement documentary. Earl Robinson explained how he found out R. Kelly was sleeping with his wife. And she really sat up there and lied to us, y'all.
Another lie. Robert and I were never in a romantic relationship.
Well, Sparkle is not telling the whole truth, y'all. I didn't call her in a couple of lies. Sparkle and R. Kelly began working together in 1992 after she had already been knowing him since 1989. This would have made Sparkle 17 at the time. Then R. Kelly had signed Sparkle to his record label, which came to be known as Rockland Records. Beginning in 1996, they collaborated on Sparkle's first solo album. The album Sparkle went on to achieve platinum status, and Sparkle also contributed vocals to R. Kelly's R, which dropped in 1998. Before we move on any further, in between Sparkle and R. Kelly, I wanted to also point out to you guys that back in 1991 is also when Barry Hankerson introduced his niece, Aaliyah, to R. Kelly. Aaliyah was born January 16th, 1979. So in 1991, that would have made Aaliyah 12 years old. Barry Hankerson introduced his niece Aaliyah to R. Kelly when she was 12 by bringing her to the studio and had her sing for R. Kelly. In 1993 is when R. Kelly finally left his group that he had formed, Public Announcement. When R. Kelly finally left Public Announcement in 1993, he stole Sparkle away from Earl and took her with him. I want to also also say that R. Kelly left public announcement because he was already working with Barry Hankerson, and Barry Hankerson had put R. Kelly down with his niece Aaliyah. And this is all happening around the same time in 1993. Because also in 93, R. Kelly went solo and released his first solo single, Sex Me, on August 6, 1993. R. Kelly didn't waste any time releasing his 12-play album that came out November 9th, 1993. The 12-play album followed R. Kelly's tenure with the R&B music group Public Announcement, with whom he released one album, Born Into the 90s, in 1992. Remember, I told y'all that Barry had introduced his niece Aaliyah to R. Kelly in 1991, so by January of 1993, R. Kelly was already assisting Aaliyah on her Age Ain't Nothing But a Number album that they finally finished working on in February of 1994. And it was finally released May 24th, 1994 under Blackground Records and Jive. A few short months later, also in 1994, is when R. Kelly was aged 27. He married 15-year-old singer Aaliyah at a secret ceremony in Chicago, which really got my mind to thinking, y'all. I was like, oh my God, well, if all of this is true, then when did R. Kelly marry Aaliyah? What was the exact date? R. Kelly married Aaliyah August 31st of 1994, y'all. This was just 3 short months after Aaliyah and R. Kelly released her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, May 24th of 1994. Aaliyah's family took charge of the situation, and on September 29th of 1994, the marriage was annulled. Aaliyah told her family that she never wanted to see R. Kelly again, and they set about making sure she would never have to. In February of 1995 is when R. Kelly and Aaliyah's marriage was finally finalized, which led me to start thinking about R. Kelly and his ex-wife, Drea Kelly. I was like, okay, so if R. Kelly and Aaliyah's divorce was finalized in 1995, R. Kelly turned right around, y'all, and married Drea Kelly in 1996. And what I found fishy about this situation, you guys, is that nothing on the internet says when they got married in 1996. All I was able to find was that they got married in Colorado. All it says on the internet is in 1996, Drea, then age 22, married singer-songwriter R. Kelly in Colorado. Which made me ask myself the question, well, when did she actually meet R. Kelly? It doesn't give the exact date of when Andrea Kelly met R. Kelly, but it does say that the pair had met in Chicago when she became a backup dancer for the hitmaker at the age of 19, before rising the ranks to become his choreographer. But after almost a decade of marriage, it came tumbling down. And so Andrea Kelly's birthday is January of 1974, you guys, which would have meant that Drea met R. Kelly back in 1993 when she was 19 years old. And this was the year that he released his first solo song as well as his first solo album. While making a name for herself as a classically trained dancer who was focused on a career in musical theater, Andrea Kelly was told to go to an audition by a friend. She was not interested in doing any sort of commercial dance, but eventually she decided to take his advice and go. She was ultimately chosen for the job, which was to go on tour with R. Kelly. She landed the gig, hit the road with the famous singer. And this was in 1993 at the age of 19. 3 years later, Andrea and R. Kelly soon began dating and were even eventually married. Their marriage lasted for 11 years and produced 3 children together, and they divorced in 2009. And I just find it real suspicious, y'all, that the day that they got married is not on the internet. However, they have R. Kelly and Aaliyah's marriage date plastered everywhere, which leads me to form the opinion that R. Kelly never wanted to marry Drea in the first place. I feel like R. Kelly's PR team as well as his lawyers told him that what he did with Aaliyah, such as marrying her at the age of 15, was a no-go for his career, and that I felt like they told R. Kelly that he needed to hurry up and marry someone who was way older than Aaliyah and not too much younger than himself. He was going to lose his career. Because Aaliyah and R. Kelly's marriage was finalized in 1995, y'all. In 1996, he married his backup dancer, Drea Lee. And it's like they had a strategic plan, y'all, because 2 years after the marriage, they gave birth to their daughter, Joanne, in 1998. And then 2 more years later, in 2000, they gave birth to their second child. And then in 2002, they gave birth to their third child. And it was just like R. Kelly was trying to the whole world that he didn't have a problem with underage girls and that he knew how to go and date women his own age. But I really feel like that R. Kelly did not love Drea, and Drea did not love R. Kelly. I feel like Drea married R. Kelly because of who he was and how much money he was capable of making and bringing into the home. I feel like Drea has always known that R. Kelly lived a double life, and I feel like that she has always known that he was attracted to younger underage girls. If Drea had met R. Kelly at the age of 19 in 1993, you guys, I'm pretty sure that she knew what was going on behind the scenes and maybe even participated a little bit. This is all alleged, you guys, because I wasn't there, but I really don't know. But when you really think about it and you start putting two and two together, it's like, how could you be around this man from 1993, marry him in 1996, and stay around the entire time and still say that you never seen nothing? Because 3 years after R. Kelly got indicted in 2002, in 2005, Drea Kelly filed a restraining order on R. Kelly after they had a physical altercation. And then in 2006, she filed for divorce. But like I've been saying all along, you guys, I don't feel like that R. Kelly really loved Drea. I just feel like that they were in a business partnership by being married. Because according to Jane testifying on the stand, she had been messing with R. Kelly since 1996, and she didn't stop until way after Drea and R. Kelly got divorced in 2009. But you also can't forget what Jane was saying on the stand last week when R. Kelly's attorney Jennifer Bonjean had asked Jane if she moved into R. Kelly's house and lived with R. Kelly and his wife Drea Kelly for years. And at this point, I feel like Drea and Sparkle is keeping secrets, because I don't understand how Drea could never see this girl running around her house. Another theory I had, you guys, was the fact that Andrea filed for divorce from R. Kelly in 2006. R. Kelly didn't sign them divorce papers until 2009. Besides, he be trying to paint R. Kelly like he's slow or he deliberate or something like that because he can't read or write or do math or nothing like that. But that man is a smart man and he is strategic. He made sure not to grant the divorce to his wife Drea Kelly until after he was acquitted of those charges back in 2008. R. Kelly wanted to make sure that he beat those charges before he divorced his wife, because he didn't want her testifying against him on the stand. I believe that if he would have granted Drea their divorce in 2006 when she asked him to, that in 2008, before he got acquitted, they would have put Drea Kelly on the stand and asked her questions pertaining to R. Kelly's goddaughter, Jane. But since he had got acquitted, he no longer needed Drea. After R. Kelly allegedly signed the divorce papers, Andrea Kelly reportedly was paid a multi-million-dollar divorce settlement from R. Kelly. The exact details of this settlement are not known because R. Kelly forced a gag order on all of the proceedings. Drea knew what she was getting herself into when she married R. Kelly in 1996. That was at the pinnacle, at the peak of his career. That's when he had the most money, and she knew that if I just stick around, have some kids by this man, stay married to him 10 years or longer, I know that when I get divorced, I'm gonna get me a good old alimony check, which is exactly what happened. Drea and R. Kelly's divorce settlement was sealed up until last year when documents were released to a judge overseeing their decades-long custody battle. In the settlement, Andrea was awarded a one-time payment of $1 million, approximately $1.3 million, as well as $13,000 a month in alimony, plus an additional $250,000 that was approximately $342,000 a year in child support, as the children were minors at the time. But in recent years, R. Kelly has requested to reduce his child support payments to Drea Kelly, claiming his income and popularity have declined due to numerous allegations of predatory behavior against him. The singer R. Kelly, who was once worth a cool $205 million, is now reportedly worth only $137,000, and he is facing anywhere from 10 years to life in prison for the series of charges that he caught in Chicago. And once Drea Kelly finally got rid of R. Kelly, you guys, is when she was able to speak publicly and finally be herself. R. Kelly's ex-wife Andrea says she was married but never a wife to R. Kelly. I feel like Drea was trying to tell the world something through this article she did with Page Six. The ex-wife of disgraced singer R. Kelly has once again spoken out about their 13-year marriage. In a new interview with Page Six, Andrea Kelly said her experience with the singer was far from perfect, despite the perception her life was because of R. Kelly's fame and fortune. She goes on to say, "Money does not bring you happiness. It is a lonely place." Andrea told the outlet, "I still say I was married, but I was never a wife. And I don't want anyone else to experience that, especially the younger generation." And I just want to know, Drea, what do you mean by the younger generation? I feel like she only used the younger generation as an example because she know what her ex-husband R. Kelly liked to do in his double life. Now, don't give me the line, I don't know if Celebrity Net Worth actually knows how much these celebrities are worth or not, but according to Celebrity Net Worth, Andrea Kelly is worth $5 million. Which is crazy because she really got in where she fit in, y'all, right before R. Kelly lost everything because he ain't got not a dime to his name. I mean, now I understand why Drea Kelly's smile be so big, because she really won in the end. But now that her and R. Kelly ain't married no more, I feel like that they should subpoena her to come and testify, because I know she got to know what was going on with R. Kelly's goddaughter Jane, because you can't tell me that somebody that made your husband godfather of this dang child and you ain't even playing godmother. And I know they ain't gonna call Sparkle to the stand in Chicago because she gonna mess the whole case up, because you been lying, girl, since the very beginning. And I know that Sparkle is running off nothing but emotions right now, because she got real hot when her niece went to court and said what she said about Sparkle and R. Kelly, which was, Jane says she is familiar with R. Kelly, whom she knew of through his R&B music, and first met him in 1996 when she was 12 or 13. He came to a gospel concert at my church. I was excited. I knew his level of success, and I was excited like any other fan, Jane said. Jane was born in 1984, you guys. So she was literally 12 years old when she met R. Kelly for the first time. Jane says it was her aunt who first introduced her to R. Kelly after the gospel concert. They met backstage and later met again in a few months when R. Kelly came to a performance put on by Jane's music group. And that sounds so familiar to me, you guys, because I found this article where it said Sparkle first started singing in her family's gospel music group before she met R. Kelly in 1989. Sparkle didn't start working on her album with R. Kelly until 1996 when she was 21 years old. And she didn't release her debut album, self-titled Sparkle, until May of 1998, which would have made Sparkle 23 at the time. Which makes me think that R. Kelly spent 9 whole years around this man before she even became an artist, before he even helped her with a song. And it's just so crazy, y'all, that the song that he decided to help her with was called Be Careful. But we ain't gonna get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and finish off what Jane was saying in court. Following the meeting with R. Kelly at her music group's Chicago performance, Jane says she started seeing R. Kelly more and more through her aunt Stephanie, who Jane says had a romantic relationship with R. Kelly at the time. And now, y'all, it all makes sense, because Sparkle never told us that she's been getting groomed by R. Kelly since she was 14, since 1989. R. Kelly's goddaughter Jane was right, y'all. Her auntie Stephanie has been having a romantic relationship with R. Kelly. Jane is going through and identifying pictures of R. Kelly's studio, which she says she first began visiting with her aunt Stephanie Sparkle Edwards in 1996 or 1997. Jane would have been 12 or 13 years old at that point. Jane goes on to say that her aunt pushed her to get closer to R. Kelly. She said that I should ask him to be my godfather, that I should rub his head and ask him to take that role in my life, Jane says. R. Kelly chuckled and said yes. Her parents, she says, also approved. And now, y'all, that I think about it, Sparkle never told us what other songs or with other artists that she worked with after R. Kelly. But the kicker is Sparkle has worked with several artists, including Aaliyah, where she was backing vocals on Age Ain't Nothing But a Number album. And then she worked on the R album by R. Kelly, also on Mary J. Blige's Share My World, Wyclef Jean on Loving You remix, and Avant's remix of Separated, which features Kelly Rowland. She has worked with Joe on Woman's Heart, Jimmy Summers, and Tank, and Sparkle has also sung background vocals for Toni Braxton in her Las Vegas stage show Toni Braxton revealed. So if Sparkle sung background vocals for Aaliyah, wouldn't that have put her in the same vicinity as R. Kelly and Aaliyah back in 1993? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It just makes me think that she knew what was going on with R. Kelly and Aaliyah back in 1993 through 1995, and she knew once Aaliyah's family got Aaliyah away from R. Kelly that R. Kelly was going to need a new artist. So I'm thinking that's when Sparkle got it in her head, hey, my niece is talented. R. Kelly could help my niece since he has his own record label, Rockland Records. And if it's true what Sparkle's niece is saying on the stand in Chicago, then it all makes sense on why Sparkle told her niece to sit in R. Kelly's lap, rub his head, and ask for him to be your godfather. Sparkle knew R. Kelly liked young girls. Sparkle knew what was going on with Aaliyah. Sparkle introduced R. Kelly to her niece after Aaliyah had left. Sparkle was getting into it with R. Kelly allegedly. Their whole relationship was rocky allegedly. She was probably wondering why R. Kelly couldn't make her a hit song. Hence the reason that R. Kelly created his own record label called Rockland Records in 1998. Sparkle felt like she finally made it because R. Kelly was finally working on an album with her after her being around him for 7 years at this point. So she introduced her niece to Robert in 1996, and by 1998, R. Kelly was not only having relations with his goddaughter Jane and Sparkle's niece, but I think that he also stopped messing with Sparkle on that type of level, y'all. Because in 1998 is when R. Kelly finally got fed up and gave Sparkle a song. But the song that he wrote for Sparkle, y'all, was like a slap to her face. I felt like because at this point he no longer needs Sparkle because he already has a roster of great songs that he did for himself plus others. Sparkle was hard to handle and out of control. Definitely not impressionable. And at this time, she's already introduced her niece and her family to R. Kelly, so what more do he need from Sparkle? R. Kelly was even able to get the 1999 soundtrack of Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy's movie Life to be released on Rockland label, and Sparkle was the first artist to release an album on the label. Despite various conflicts between Sparkle and the label, her debut album performed well, going platinum. The album's most popular track was a duet between R. Kelly and Sparkle titled Be Careful.
2 years ago, wait a minute.
I mean, y'all have to keep in y'all minds that R. Kelly created and wrote and produced this song for Sparkle to sing. So it's like he knew what him and Sparkle was going through. But, you know, R. Kelly is the type of person to put everything in his music. So I just feel like that he was giving us a clue during this time that he did this song for Sparkle, because they was really talking behind the scenes. And Sparkle was mad when R. Kelly stopped working with her and started working with Sparkle's niece Jane. But I feel like Sparkle was so desperate for a hit that she just did it. Yeah, tear down the walls of y'all's house with your niece,
cause it might turn around on you.
I feel like that Sparkle had stuck her hand in the lion's mouth, you guys, and she did not pull it out quick enough, and R. Kelly turned around and really showed her a thing or two that made her hot and had Sparkle real bitter. She thought because she had been messing with R. Kelly since 1989 that he would in no way, shape, form, or fashion get rid of her. She thought that she had a place in his heart and in his home. I mean, y'all remember on Surviving R. Kelly when she said that she had heard Drea knocking and beating on the door? R. Kelly even had Sparkle feeling more superior than Drea Kelly, who was actually the wife. But I feel like that song, Be Careful, is R. Kelly telling the whole world that Sparkle thought that she had something and she didn't. I feel like Sparkle was messing with R. Kelly, however, she kept her options open at the same time. Sparkle was eventually dropped from Rockland label for refusing to show up to work unless her boyfriend Steve Huff was allowed to work on her next project. In addition, she was released several times for insubordination. Later on, Sparkle was released for good and she went to Motown to record the album I Told You So. The album's only minor hit was It's a Fact, which reached number 62 on the R&B charts. Sparkle tried to team up with R. Kelly once more but was unable due to past issues. After R. Kelly refused to work with Sparkle, she claimed that R. Kelly was on a tape with her niece, which R. Kelly, the niece, and the parents all denied.
Better be careful what you do to me. Somebody might do it to you.
I don't know, y'all. I might be reaching, but I feel like Sparkle knew about them tapes and she took one. R. Kelly knew she took one, so he wrote this song for her.
Now who was there for you when your was out of work?
And y'all gotta pay attention because I feel like during this song she was like, who was there for you when your A was out of work? Sparkle been there for R. Kelly since 1989 when he wasn't even hot yet.
So quick to hang up the phone. I step in the room.
And then on R. Kelly's part, it sounds like he's telling her like 2 years ago in 1996, I didn't know you had male friends off up in college. I hope y'all keeping up with me, but I feel like that he was talking about 2 years ago in 1996 because the song came out in 1998. R. Kelly said to Sparkle in the song that I found out that you still been reaching out to some of them. Then he said that Sparkle used to listen to him when she was down and lost, and that makes me go back to thinking in 1989 when she was 14 and stuff, she was listening to him because she didn't know no better. Well, now I just want to move along to Sparkle, y'all, because y'all know Sparkle came out with that little video the other day where she was basically saying that her niece Jane getting on the stand testifying Sparkle was the one who introduced her to R. Kelly and pushed her towards R. Kelly back in 1996 when she was 12 years old at a gospel concert.
Not all that you heard yesterday from my niece is true. To testify that I had my niece sit on Robert's lap and rub his head and have her ask him to be her godfather is an absolute lie. Because Robert was given the opportunity to have his own record label, I introduced my sister, my brother-in-law, and my niece to Robert at CRC Studios in '97. Not a concert, as she testified.
Well, look, man, I ain't even trying to be mean. I ain't trying to be shaming nobody or nothing. All I'm doing is keeping up with the facts that we have been able to make it make sense for ourselves since 2019, y'all. So, you just heard Sparkle say that she introduced her niece to R. Kelly in 1997 at the studio and not at a gospel concert like Jane said in Chicago on the stand. But before Sparkle get up here and lie to us, y'all, again, and not tell the whole truth like she been not doing, let's not forget that I reacted to Surviving R. Kelly series on my channel, and I have clips of some of the Surviving R. Kelly docu-series that I reacted to in some of my videos. I have Sparkle saying in her own words, y'all.
Introduced my niece to Robert. It was at 12 years
Now,
old.
I know y'all heard what she said, and I'm going to play it for y'all again. But how I know Sparkle lying, y'all, is that you don't ever have to remember the truth. And if she was telling the truth on that video that she just released on the internet a couple of days ago, then in this clip that I'm about to play for y'all again, Sparkle will be saying that she introduced her niece to Robert at a studio in 1997 and not 1996 when she was 12 years old.
Introduced my niece to Robert. It was at 12 years
That's
old.
how I know somebody lying, y'all, because Sparkle's niece was born in 1984, so in 1996, which is what you said in Surviving R. Kelly, Sparkles. I just don't understand how you seem so for sure on this video that you didn't showed us 2 days ago that it was in 1997. Girl, can you get your lie correct?
I asked my sister and my brother-in-law to bring her down to the studio. She was a rapper. She was a dope rapper too. That's when Bow Wow was back then. She was that status.
So what's the deal with this world that we live in? Everybody's taking out of that community giving. Life in the city is hard, I know your problems. The man don't care, he ain't even try to solve it. What you gonna do? Stick your head in a hole? Are you giving up or are you gonna take control? When you take control, you can be what you wanna be. Next to get it all, the education is the game.
I wanted him to do what he was doing for me, for her.
And that's what I was saying earlier, because Sparkle was around during the R. Kelly and the Aaliyah saga. She even sung background vocals on Aaliyah's Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, so you can't say you don't know what was going on because you talked to people in the studio and everybody knew what was going on. You already knew what R. Kelly was about because he probably been grooming you for a long time too. I'm not saying none of this is true, but it do make more sense than what Sparkle been talking about. I ain't gonna lie, your niece niece is talented. She was like a little Bow Wow. She did have her stuff together, and I felt like she really could have made it. But you knew R. Kelly had just created Rockland Records, and you was already an artist on there, and your album was the first album that came out on Rockland Records, so you probably thought, hey, let me put my family on, because your niece was a rapper.
Wanting to be bigger than life, if you will, because she was that. She was totally that. And he saw it too.
Yes, he did see it, and maybe he seen some Aaliyah in her too because of her youth and how young she was. He definitely didn't make her an artist on Rockland Records, so I mean, your plan, if that was your plan from the beginning, it failed. Well, before we get out of here, you guys, I wanted to tell y'all that I ran across this interview that Kitty Jones had done about R. Kelly. If you don't remember Kitty Jones, you guys, she was the girlfriend who was the radio personality in Dallas that started dating R. Kelly, and she also got treated the same way as everyone else. She was also one of the women who appeared on Surviving R. Kelly. In her interview, you guys, she was discussing this 14-year-old, and from the details that she was giving, it reminded me of Sparkle's niece. Because the only infamous young girl that R. Kelly has been messing with since she was 14 is Sparkle's niece. And Kitty has said that all of this happened around 2011. And during that time, you guys, Sparkle's niece was still with R. Kelly. R. Kelly said that he has trained this person since they were 14 years old, and that they were going to show Kitty how to be with him. And that just made me think that R. Kelly made his goddaughter train every new girl that he brought in on how to please him.
To one of the girls that he told me he trained, and since she was 14, those were his words. You know, he proceeded to tell me, you know, to undress, and then I sat in the chair and he started recording me. He would record everything that we did at this point. And then that's when the girl walked in. He had her crawl on the floor towards me and perform oral sex on me, and he said, "This is my fucking pet. I trained her. She's gonna teach you how to be with me."
I don't know, y'all. I could be wrong. These are just theories. These are just questions that I had in my own head. But leave your thoughts and opinions down below, you guys, and let me know what y'all think about the situation. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
So long, sleeping from sofa to sofa. Now I'ma step on these little bitty bitches. Hit some brand new Gucci low, some Gucci walking. I got tired of eating Big Mama's chicken. Now it's business when I walk.